took me off the street and put me in the pen. I don't think it ever give it all up. I'm all fucked up. Oh yeah, I'm all fucked up. Good morning, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City. And this morning we are going to do an audio commentary for not only the worst movie ever released by the Lad Company, the great Lad Company, which I've been doing commentaries on for the past couple months now, because its founder, Alan Ladd Jr., passed away at the end of the year. We have officially come to the worst Lad Company movie. It is a stinker of epic proportions. And I would advise, I don't want anybody to necessarily pay for this movie. So if you can figure out a way to watch it by other means, please do so. Because this is not really even a movie worth $3. But Warner Brothers, I can understand why. Well, you really want to see this? If you really want to see this, you will pay $3. So, we are going to watch Doin' Time. I think this is probably one of the worst comedies of the 1980s, next to Leonard Part 6, The Sunshine Boys, a couple of other comedies that I would deem nearly offensive, yet I wouldn't necessarily call for a ban on them. Doin' Time is beyond dumb, and it's beyond stupid, and it's beyond offensive. And I know that all sounds great, oh, is this going to be like a guilty pleasure? No. You are truly in for one of the worst film experiences ever. And if you actually laugh at anything at this, bravo to you. I will buy you a cake and some alcohol. Let's get started. Let's just get started because I want to get this over with. It's only 79 minutes. But yeah, let's get started. So, Lad Company logo. 3, 2, 1, and play. The great Lad Company logo. This was only one of two 1985 releases for the Lad Company, the other being Police Academy 2, their first assignment. Now, the difference between the two is even though that movie came out in March, this one came out in May, and yet it still had the Lad Company logo, while Police Academy 2 didn't, because Warner Brothers basically took over the Police Academy franchise at that time. The Lad Company offices were empty for months, and whoever the jackass was that said yes to this, I'd like to find him and kick his ass. No, I'm just kidding. But because I refuse to believe that Alan Ladd Jr. approved this. I would put money down that he didn't. But let's get started. So what is this movie? What is Doin' Time? I don't know. It's hard to describe, but okay, I'm going to try to do my best here. And Richard Mulligan is Mongo. Oh, and I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Cliff Booth, that song is the only thing I remember from this movie. Yeah, it's the only thing I'm going to remember. Jay the Stingray, love you, man. Leonard 6 is a bad one. Maybe want to drink a drink from a stranger. Guys, I'm glad you could join me. But yeah, here we have the star of the movie, Jeff Altman. So let's start with this guy. To be perfectly honest, had it not been for one television special from 1990 that I remember almost verbatim, I would never in a million years ever heard of this guy. Now, he's a comedian, quote unquote. And look, I know. I'm not necessarily worried if like somebody who knows Jeff is listening, but look, I don't. It's nothing against him personally. I just hate his performance here. I hate his character. I hate his performance. But he's supposed to be the Steve Guttenberg to Police Academy. That's what this character is, and it's like a really, really bad, just excrement version of Steve Guttenberg. At least Steve Guttenberg was charming. Jeff Altman is not funny or charming in the slightest. I'm just being honest here. With all due respect to him as a person, because I'm not trying to piss him off, I just don't think he's funny in this movie. And like I said, he like a lot of the other characters really grate on you after a while. This is the type of movie that I would, if it actually existed in this universe, I would probably grab a bat or something to start knocking him out. Just like, no, 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 no. Yeah, that's how much I hate this movie. Now, so Jeff Altman, let's get him out of the way. But he was a guest on Late Night with David Letterman, Late Show with David Letterman, combined 45 times. Okay, so that's where he's known from. Okay, I did not watch David Letterman. And on top of all that, I prefer Jay Leno. Go ahead and sue me. I don't care. I know everybody has a different comedy style. There are a lot of people that hate Jay Leno. I don't care. I would rather, I mean, hey, I've actually sat live at a Tonight Show with Jay Leno. I forget who the guest was, but I actually went to one of those live. And he did seem like a cool, down-to-earth guy. While every time I've seen David Letterman, he just really, to me, he signals being an asshole under the surface. But here again, that is just me. I am not a fan of these people, so sue me. And look, very, very rarely would I really, really shit on a movie like this. Because, look, I understand that there probably is one person out there that likes this movie. And in fact, there is one person out there that likes this movie. We will get to them in a moment. But look, this is a nadir for a once distinguished company. And I think that the whole thing, this sounds like an idea that somebody thought up when they were drunk, that they were, just totally fucked up, as the song in this penitentiary as prisoners actually do like an Elvis-like rock number, saying I'm all fucked up. It's so fucking moronic. But, look, I can see maybe 3 or 4 people in the world laughing at that. I'm not going to spit on them. I'm not going to get on them in any way about that. Fine. Look, if this movie made one person smile in the universe, great. But I've seen a lot of bad comedies, and okay, some of those National Lampoon spinoffs are better than this. I would almost be willing to watch like superhero movie or some of those scary movies or something like that. This just plumbs new depths. This plumbs new depths in the toilet. I honestly think so. I don't know if the people that wrote this were psychotic or demented or just all fucked up. I don't know. Look. And I know, whoa, you're going too far, man. No. Okay, let me dial it down a little bit. I will dial it down. Okay. Look, there are people out there that probably like this comedy. However, I'm sure that, I would be embarrassed to like a movie like this because, look, I understand. There's been many, many movies made over the decades. I'm sure one person saw this movie at one time somewhere, and it probably made them chuckle at least once. Bless their heart. But this is one of the worst. If you're going to ask me what the worst movie of all time, period, is, my stock answer would be The Creeping Terror from 1964. Which was, yes, on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And on top of all that, it's just, it's unbearably bad. And this is exactly, Doin Time is one that I would call unbearably bad. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Jeff Altman, having his ass be in front of the camera. Yeah, I don't care. No, this is the absolute worst, the nadir of comedy. Adam Sandler is a Nobel laureate compared to any one of the people that made this piece of shit. So, okay, let's get back to Jeff Altman. Altman also had numerous acting roles in movies and television, such as Dr. Gene Splicer and Tiny Toon Adventures. Don't hate that. I enjoyed it as a kid. Professor Dweeb and Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. Okay. Clinton Mullet on Mork and Mindy, and 5 different guest characters on Baywatch. He had a recurring role as Huey Hogg, the nephew of Jefferson Davis Hogg on The Dukes of Hazzard. He began his career in 1974 at the Comedy Store. Came his first appearance on television on Cos, a Bill Cosby children's variety show. A year later, he joined the Starland vocal band show, where he was alongside celebrities such as David Letterman and Mark Russell. Altman has directed many sitcoms. In the mid-1980s, he was the spokesman for Arby's restaurants, Tostitos corn chips, and Valvoline motor oil. Yeah. And by 1990, he was a Budweiser spokesman. In 1989, he released his one and only comedy record album titled I'll Flip You Like a Cheese Omelet. And the same year had appeared in 3 Hollywood clubs, Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, and the Irvine Improvisation. He has also been the uncredited host of the Defensive Driving Course, available through Blockbuster Video. In the 90s, Altman was on the NBC series Nurses during the first season. It was written out. The show was reworked for its second season. Regular feature on its stand-by acting has typically included a comical impression of his father, and Altman continued to find his Nixon impression humorous well into the 80s. In 1991, he was a host of the Sunday Comics, but later was replaced by Lenny Clark. February 22nd, 1991, Altman had created his own show called Jeff Altman's Scrapbook, where he continued to parody his dad on Uncle Carl, which he started back in the early 80s. In 2017, Jeff Altman played a fundraiser at the Chicago branch of the Laugh Factory from McCormick College of Lakeview, Chicago. Fair enough. Altman met Letterman in 1975, and they became great friends. Altman is a drummer, longtime fan of Buddy Rich, whom he once enticed to appear at Hopkins for one of his classes. In 1979, he married Leslie Ackerman. Together, they had a daughter. Altman is an accomplished magician, a much-admired card man. One of his effects has been included in the famous Tarbell course in magic. And he was also in Soul Man. He had a voice in B Movie, Highlander 2, The Quickening. And that's about it as far as his resume. Now, 2 people on screen here, which I love in other movies, and they are wasted, so wasted here. John Vernon, the lovely John Vernon, from everything from Animal House to Herbie Goes Bananas to Savage Streets. Yeah, I love John Vernon. And I love Colleen Camp, who was, of course, in Police Academy 2, as well as Clue the same year in 1985. Look, I love these 2 actors to death, unlike Jeff Altman, with all due respect to him as a person. Yeah, I love them. And to see them being wasted in a horrible, horrible turd of a movie like this is depressing, and just, it's really depressing. Now, I just talked about Jeff Altman, the star of this movie. Everybody else, every other character, and practically every actor that plays that character. I'm sure that there are some guys involved in this movie that are perfectly lovely. I wouldn't mind having a beer with them. I'm sure that they are lovely, lovely people. And I'm sure people that worked on this movie are lovely people. It's a turd. It's a massive turd. This is basically the Ladd Company's turd that they flushed down the toilet at the very, very end of their 1980s run with Warner Brothers, which we can talk about a little bit later. But this is the one movie I can definitely say in the entire Ladd Company filmography that I truly hate. And I wish it didn't exist, but unfortunately it does, for people to experience in nightmarish horror just how shockingly dull and unfunny and loud and stupid and, yes, offensive, but I think not for the. I don't think offensive in a that is just intentionally assholerish. Almost, I don't know. Okay, so the guy that made this movie, his resume consists of 6 films. 6. That's it. 6 films. And because of the fact that I was scared to death on what I was going to fill this movie with was 79 minutes, because I know it's a short ass running time, and yet it seems like the longest movie. It seems longer than Lawrence of Arabia, honestly. So, okay, let's talk about the director, because this is going to take some time, because you have to hear the absolute batshit craziness that this guy has put out. And look, here again, maybe he's a lovely person, if he is, cool. I will believe that. But we have to talk about him, and let's just get through it. Let's just get through it. Okay, so the director of Doing Time is a man by the name of George Mendeluk. George Mendeluk. Okay. He was born in March of 1948. He's 74 now. He was born in Bavaria. We'll get back to that. German-born Canadian film director, television director, and writer of Ukrainian descent. Throughout his career, he has amassed a number of credits in film and television. His directorial television credits include Miami Vice, Night Heat, The New Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Young Riders, Counter-Strike, Kung Fu, The Legend Continues, Hercules, The Legendary Journey, Poltergeist, The Legacy, Highlander the Series, Highlander the Raven, Queen of Swords, First Wave, Relic Hunter, Romeo, Odyssey 5, among other series. Some of those are good series. I admit. Since 2006, Mendeluk has focused primarily on directing television films, namely Deck the Halls. It's a Hallmark movie, and it's the most generic of all Hallmark movies. And yeah, starring Gabrielle Carteris in Judicial Indiscretion, starring Anne Archer and Michael Shanks. Mendeluk directed the 1917 epic romantic drama. We're going to start with his last one. And work our way back. Because, like I said, we're only talking about 5 films here, with Deck the Halls being number 6. But since that was television, I don't particularly want to include that. George Mendeluk, directed the 2017 epic romantic drama Bitter Harvest, depicting Holodomor, the man-made genocide in 1930s Ukraine, that Joseph Stalin methodically planned to starve 5 to 10 million Ukrainians to death. The story and original script was written by Richard Bakinski Hoover, a Kingston, Ontario-raised Canadian half-Ukrainian living in Kiev, Ukraine, raising his young son, Yevgen Nyenchenko, born in Smila, Cherkashnya, which is portrayed as a tribute to his son, and his mother's family as the Cossack farming village in the film where many thousands of Ukrainians had died in hunger in that region, as well as the river Tiesman nearby, where the film opens with Yuri and Natalka swimming as children, as Richard's own son did with him and his son's family as a little boy, raising him there his first few years. The writer, Richard Bakinski Hoover, was also the executive producer, credited for finding the film's financing investor, and had Mendeluk attached and scouted most locations and casting and film crews in Kiev for the project. Had later sent Mendeluk his script and had him hired as the film's director by his Toronto Canadian-Ukrainian backer, producer Ian Yanapowicz. After reading Bakinski Hoover's original screenplay material, director Mendeluk was thrilled to direct the film for them. This is probably the best film he's done, and that's not saying very much, because I watched it. Earlier. I actually watched almost all of his other movies. Bitter Harvest was Well, let's put it this way. It has a 15% Rotten Tomatoes approval rating. The consensus states, Bitter Harvest lives down to its title with a cliched wartime romance whose clumsy melodrama dishonors the victims of the real-life horrors it uses as a backdrop. The only reason why I say this is his most well-made movie, which is really, really sad, and Sherry Lynn in the Los Angeles Times called the film, quote, utterly devoid of emotional impact. You said it. You said it. Several reviews agreed that the film would raise awareness, but did not accurately depict the subject matter, with Peter DeBrugge of Variety stating that there can be no doubt that the events deserve a more compelling and responsible treatment than this. The New York Times in review wrote the topic is worthy, but the execution is painfully heavy-handed. That is very, very true. The only reason why I'm saying it's his best film of all his films is for the simple reason it's because it's the most well-made, which is a sad. In this case, it's a very sad positive for a overwhelmingly negative movie that is painfully, on top of everything else, it also painfully calls to mind like a bad version of Titanic. It calls to mind like bad versions of. It felt like an asylum version of like something like Lawrence of Arabia or The African Queen or something like that. It felt like an asylum version of 1917. That's there, and horribly romantic subplot where there's no chemistry. The acting is largely atrocious, and on top of all that, here again, like this film, Doin Time, it wastes good actors like Barry Pepper and Terrence Stamp. Yes, General Zod from the Superman film series. So that's one film that George Mendeluk has directed, and yes, that was his last film from 2017. $21 million budget, it made only $5 million. So now, once I read off George Mendeluk's other films, you're going to seriously question why somebody entrusted him with $21 million to film a hugely important, very powerful, very historically essential story, especially in what's going on in Ukraine right now. This was made in 2017, granted, but maybe it was the wrong film to watch right now, granted, but I had to do it, and I regret to say I did. I don't think I made it to the end. I think I skipped out on like 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't take it anymore. It was that bad. Okay. What are the other four films? What are the other four films that George Mendeluk has directed? And I'm telling you right now, Neil Breen, I think, is a better filmmaker than this guy. And this guy was given budgets. Deck the Halls, a standard Hallmark Christmas story. Forget that. Now, the one from 1986 that he made right after Doin Time, I'm going to save that for last. God. Going back to his first film, 1979, Stone Cold Dead. It's about a serial killer hunting prostitutes in Toronto, starring Richard Crenna. As badass and awesome as that sounds, it is the most boring, the most unexciting, shock-free, surprise-free, twist-free, full of hateful, despicable characters that you don't care or give a shit about. All it offers the viewer is historical shots of Toronto with the red light districts and everything. An absolute sludge of a film, which he produced, wrote, and directed in 1979. Richard Crenna, the worst performance I've ever seen him give. I love him in First Blood. I love him in Hot Shots Part 2. I love him in Body Heat, which was a Lad Company movie I already did a commentary for. Wasted, horrible. 0 out of 0. 0 out of 0. Then we come to a competently made, but otherwise completely unexciting and stupid movie called The Kidnapping of the President. Now, actually, I'm going to reverse my stance that I said earlier about Bitter Harvest being his quote-unquote best movie. Kidnapping of the President is his best movie. Now, Kidnapping of the President is a 1980 movie with William Shatner, Hal Holbrook, Van Johnson, Ava Gardner. There's some serious Hollywood talent there. William Shatner, Hal Holbrook, Van Johnson, and Ava Gardner. Classic film stars. William Shatner, I have so much respect for the guy. I do think he's a genuinely good actor that is not given enough credit. I don't care if he's blocked me on Twitter. Hal Holbrook, one of our most underappreciated character actors. Miss him absolutely. Van Johnson, wonderful in all those musicals in the 1940s, perfectly reliable studio leading man, and the ravishing Ava Gardner, who many wonderful films of the classic Hollywood era. So The Kidnapping of the President is as obvious as its title. The president is kidnapped, being held for ransom for $100 million. And Hal Holbrook is the president. William Shatner is the head of security. You see him curse a couple times, which is about the only novelty that this film offers. George Mendeluk also produced it. And like I said, it also features an early film role for Maury Chaykin, another fine character actor. It was 113 minutes, waste of time, completely suspense-free. I liked William Shatner in it, kind of. I mean, he brought, I guess, everything he could to the table. I mean, at least he was more likable than Richard Crenna in the first film I talked about. Kidnapping of the President is a completely competent but forgettable movie. Then he made Doing Time. He was hired to direct Doing Time in 1985 after Stone Cold Dead and The Kidnapping of the President. Two films which are as far away from comedy as you can fucking imagine. So, like I said, whose bright idea was it to hire this guy? So Doing Time. So what is Doing Time now? Now's the time, since we are approximately 26 minutes in. Let's talk about Doing Time. It's a prison comedy in the mold of the Police Academy series, but there's a major difference here. The Police Academy sequels, including 2, as bad as they are, and I mean bad in a subjective way, in that I don't find them funny, but I don't find them hateful either. You know, I have no reason to hate those movies. This movie, I have every reason in the world to hate, because it is nothing but different colors of excrement and urine and feces, just vomit. It's a combination of all that in a giant bag, and it's splattered all over you. That's how I compare this movie. The warden of John Dillinger Memorial Penitentiary begins a series of prison reforms that cut down on the fun and games that the prisoners had been enjoying, and eventually the convicts decide a little revenge is in order. Every slob versus snob movie that came out before Doing Time is a gem in comparison. Underappreciated ones like Up the Creek, or the Mad Magazine movie from 1980, or even Screwballs. Screwballs actually has legitimate laughs in it. Doing Time this is what Rich Evans on Red Letter Media would call a non-medi. It feels like it's actively trying to not make you laugh. I'd rather watch the Twilight movies than this shit. But anyway, so and like I said, we've only scratched the surface. But here we have Richard Mulligan. He is one of the only other actors in this entire fiasco that I recognize. Uh, Seriously, one of the only others that I recognize in this movie. He plays a character named Mongo. Yeah, he plays a character named Mongo Mitchell. Not the Mongo on the level of Blazing Saddles. No, this is a unbearable Mongo. Anyway, so he served in the Navy during the Korean War. He made and yes, he is passed away. He passed away in 2000 at the age of 67. But he started out basically in the 1970s. He played George Armstrong Custer in Little Big Man, one of the classics of that era, whom he portrayed as a borderline psychotic. Kind of explain, okay, he fits right at home here. Let's put it that way. He also appeared in the disaster movie Spoof the Big Bus, where he was reunited with Larry Hagman from I Dream of Jeannie, and in the 1966 film The Group, in which he played Dick Brown, Harold Hagman's New York artist friend. In 1975, he starred in a radio adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Oblong Box, heard on the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And yes, we're talking about Richard Mulligan. Mulligan's best-known roles in television were on the sitcom Soap, never seen it, for which won a Best Actor Emmy Award as Dr. Harry Weston in the NBC series Empty Nest. I do remember him on Empty Nest. Not a bad show. I remember it being kind of funny. And I do remember liking him in it. There's only one movie I like Richard Mulligan in, and that's S.O.B., directed by Blake Edwards in 1981. Well, Mickey and Maude is okay, too. But he won both the Emmy and the Golden Globe Award for Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series for Empty Nest. Empty Nest was probably his best work. On September 30th, 1993, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And aside from that, he did a voice for Oliver and Company. He was in a weird 1984 movie called Teachers, which is a weird movie. Not the satire of the education system that my father, a lifelong English teacher, seriously was very, very disappointed by, until he saw Election and said, that is the best movie about the education system ever made. But anyway, a little shout out to my dad, who passed away about 20 years ago. He was pretty good in Heavenly Kid. Fair enough. I didn't see it, but that's what I'm saying, is that I don't hate Richard Mulligan in everything, but I hated him in this. And, John Vernon, bless his heart. I don't like anybody here. I don't like any of these people. It's so weird. It's so unbelievably weird. Now, just to let you know, at IMDb, you know how many user reviews there are for Doing Time? Seriously, you really want to know? You're gonna be shocked, because this made my jaw drop, and I need to share it all with you right now. Oh shit! Oh, there was not a single user review on this movie until 2010. Let me say that again. There was never, ever a user review on Doing Time until 2010, 25 years after its original theatrical release. That's pathetic. It shows that it's hardly ever, if any, been played on television. Maybe it played on cable at some point. In fact, I can imagine some people discovering this movie on cable, but I don't know if it actually played on cable. But there's 5 user reviews, all from 2010 to now. There's only one lone review that is positive. and I'm going to read it right now. 9 out of 10. Crazy, funny movie. This film was extremely underrated when it was first released back in the 1980s. This movie used to play on HBO many times. There you go. I can't believe no one reviewed this film on IMDb previously. Pat McCormick is hysterical as the warden of the jail, who is then replaced by Richard Mulligan. Richard Mulligan is hilarious as Mongo the warden. Jimmy Walker is also funny. The scene on the rock pile where Mike Mazurski tells John Vernon how much he likes him is a gem. The humor is silly, low-brow stuff, but in any case, this film deserves a DVD release. I have it on VHS in an oversized Warner Brothers clamshell box still. I shared that on my YouTube stream and on Twitter. 3 stars, worth a look. Okay. The one positive review on Doing Time in the entire internet. That's the only one. Look. And that is from Tony Rome, who wrote it in December 12, 2010. Tony Rome, wherever you are, thank you for this review. I'm glad you liked it. You know what? I'll say this. I am glad that there is one person on this planet that actually likes Doing Time. That means that nobody else does. 5 out of 10. When I told Muhammad Ali that I slept in his house with his wife there and drove his convertible rolls around and I'm still alive. In 1985, I had the good fortune to be in the cast in this movie below as inmate Angelo Crispini, and Muhammad Ali, one of my heroes, graced this comedy film with a small cameo playing himself. We're getting to that. It's a very, very unremarkable cameo despite having the greatest, but we'll get to it. I was lucky enough to meet and perform an original poem for him that I used to do him in my stand-up act and about his loss to Leon Spinks and his championship title. I would bring up a guy from the audience to play him, and I would stand behind him and recite the poem. It would always get big laughs. Excuse me. Muhammad Ali complimented me for my impression of him with just one word. But that one word has remained with me all these years, and there's no better word he could have used to communicate my mediocre impression of him. Identical. Identical. He said with eyes wide open and that trademark smile. When he spoke to you, he made you feel so special, so important, and that's an incredible quality to have. Ali was showing signs of Parkinson's back then. A little slower, a little more deliberate in his mannerisms and speech, but he was still very coherent, and he was ever so kind, gentle, and humble with me and everyone else that clawed their way to get the second of his attention. He spent all of his time off camera doing magic card tricks for us, which took forever because of his Parkinson's. But no one cared. It was Ali doing them. I told him how I was in acting class just a couple years earlier with Veronica Porsche, his third wife and mother to Layla, and even spent a night in his home. He was out of town when Veronica decided to invite the entire acting class over for a slumber party. And the next morning she asked me to drive his convertible, Muhammad Ali's convertible, Rolls Royce, to get coffee and donuts. Talk about being scared stiff. And to be in his room with all this championship belts, medals, except for his Olympic medal, which he threw in the Mississippi River. Well, it was simply surreal and overwhelming, especially for me, a big sports fan, which I have always been. I wish I had an iPhone then. He asked me, "Did you take anything?" Then he smiled and said that he was glad I had a good time. When I asked him to take a picture with him, he grabbed my hand and whispered to me to make a fist. Then he took my fist, he put it to his chin, made a face. You know the face, it was fantastic. I am so heartbroken that I cannot look at that pic anywhere. And even though we are not related, we weren't best friends, nor do I think he even would remember me. Porsche would, however. I feel as if I knew him, and I find myself very, very sad this evening, as if I lost another friend. Again, funny how a person you don't even know can do that to you. Wow. Well, that is one of the best That is one of the most awesome IMDb reviews I've ever read. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. This one's a keeper. This one's a keeper. And for a movie like this, this is a massive antidote. A massive antidote. Reading this right now, I should have read it during the Muhammad Ali scene. I know. Trust me, he's coming before you know it. He'll be here before you know it anyway. But I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. So goodbye, champ. You are and forever will be the greatest. All right, now for the other three reviews, which were all horrible. An absolutely terrible comedy. Doin' Time was handled by the same production outfit that in the previous year gave us Police Academy. Obviously, the idea was to spoof prison movies in the same way Police Academy spoofed police movies. However, the movie in comparison makes the Police Academy sequels look like comedy classics. I didn't read these before. I was going to read these live on air, and that's what I'm doing. I did not read these beforehand, obviously. Yeah, he pretty much echoed exactly what I said earlier. However, the movie in comparison the movie is a real mess. There's barely any plot. The shoddy editing shows no clear direction. Remember, I've been going over all the director's films, and gives the impression that the filmmakers were making things up as they went along. But the biggest problem is with the humor. The closest the movie gets to generating a laugh is with the Elvis impersonator who sings in front of the prison's parole board. Though in the end, even that gag fails as much as the other attempts at humor. The other gags in the movie are even more lame as well as unimaginatively conceived and executed. To sum up, this movie is a really cheap and amateurish effort by all involved. Even the closed captions for the movie are unprofessionally done. They are unprofessionally done. Only for those who want to see John Vernon do a near nude scene. Yeah. 85 comedy misfire, 2 out of 10. In 85, we had Night Patrol, Moving Violations, and this, Doing Time. All I can say is thank God we have Jeff Altman, the film's only saving grace. I would say Muhammad Ali, but let's keep going. Altman is a door-to-door salesman caught up in the wrong house in the wrong bed with the wrong woman who screamed rape. This hot middle-aged filly at first lures Altman to the bedroom, so you can probably imagine just how angry he feels when he ends up in the clink amongst some well-known faces like John Vernon and JJ from Good Times, amidst comedy stars of the 80s type. The filly gets her just desserts later in a funny scene. You'll get the pun when you see it. In this insane prison run by an evil warden, Richard Mulligan, it actually turns out to be a real fun environment where eggs are cooked on electric chairs, rock bands perform, and the prisoners have their own TV station. Jeff Altman adds his own funny parts too. His full body inspection farting scene is good, but Doing Time is a weak comedy and runs third place to the other comedies. A lot of intentional funny moments fall flat on their face. I like the prison band, the lead singer. I like the prison band, the lead singer singing "I'm all fucked up" instead of "shook up," where there's a far and few between, raised a couple of laughs for me. Also, Julie Landers flashing her 2 prized assets in front of Mulligan in his office, getting him so hot he has to make a few runs to the bathroom. No, that's not funny. I hated that scene. But this film is just as but I watched this film a few times, in most cases never really getting to the end of it, which I found a hard process. Take my advice. See the other 2 films mentioned above before seeing this one. You may have a difference of opinion, but I would be talking about a very small majority here. Maybe we should have the film's director do some time in a non-fun environment. And then finally, the last review. Wow, so 80s. This is a typical 80s romp. Bad music and the like. I watched this for Ali, but he's not even in the credits. He shows up for like 10 seconds towards the end. Literally 10 seconds. He must have been repaying I'm not going to, that's messed up. He must have been repaying a mafia bill to be in this movie. I guess it's supposed to be a wacky comedy, but it's just bad. It's filled with lots of second bananas you'll recognize from Carson. Carson and other TV shows at the time. Jimmy Walker is another Landers. To be honest, I found myself fast forwarding here and there. That's how bad it was. Those are the only 5 quote unquote reviews for Doing Time. So, okay, to be fair, there's one person out there that genuinely likes the movie and finds it funny. Bless his heart. And then I read the moving review by the cast member about Muhammad Ali, which I will probably go back to and quote when he comes back on the screen. See, this is an example of a gag that how many times do I have to say, I just don't find this funny? I get it. I understand what they're trying to joke about. Yeah, okay, yeah, relieving his erection. Yeah, I get it. Look, it's, and look, the woman's hot. No question. The woman's fucking hot. And I'm sure that a lot of people, okay, yeah, then I'm going to be clarifying the joke almost. Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the audience really getting erections right now just because of this woman. Look, I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that at all. And that's what makes this even worse. Okay, look, here again. Extremely sexy woman, and see, that's the thing. It's not that I find this offensive. It's just not funny. And then, like I said, when you resort to fart jokes, that's when you're so desperate. You're so desperate, man. She alone is just not worth it. Here again, it's like my father said: just buy a calendar, buy a pinup poster. Don't watch this movie. Buy a pinup poster of her. Hell, buy a magazine with her in it. Don't get this movie. Don't get this movie. See, exactly. See, that's the level of how we're 45 minutes into Doing Time. We only have 35 minutes left. Yeah, this is going by. I'm glad this is going by. But we have yet to talk about the director's final, horrible, shitty film. Is it worse than Doing Time? Probably not, because there's actually a couple songs in there on the soundtrack that I like. But yeah, let's get to the director's final film that I haven't talked about yet. The one I have seen before. Meatballs 3 Summer Job from 1986. And for all those that are Red Letter Media fans, that VHS copy of Meatballs 3 in the VHS repair shop? I donated that copy. Anyway, what does that say about me? Look, I bought that VHS tape when I was 12 years old. That's my excuse. That's my excuse. So let's talk about Meatballs 3 Summer Job. Let's talk about this excruciating, offensive piece of shit that, here again, it's just as bad as all the director's other films, with the exception of The Kidnapping of the President, which here again was competent but mediocre. Meatballs 3 Summer Job is, of course, the third film in the Meatballs franchise, which started in 1979 with the Ivan Reitman film starring Bill Murray. And it was really just a showcase to show off Bill Murray's talents and funny bones. That's essentially what that movie was. There was a sequel in 1984, with Richard Mulligan, called Meatballs Part 2. Pee Wee Herman drove the bus. I don't remember it being awful. I think I actually remember laughing a couple times in that one. There are a few comments on YouTube clips of the movie that are positive. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you. But yeah, Meatballs 3 Summer Job. I think it was direct to video, but I think it was released in theaters in Canada. Basically, Rudy Gerner played in the original by Chris Makepeace in the 1979 Meatballs. In Meatballs 3 Summer Job, he's played by Patrick Dempsey. Yes, that Patrick Dempsey. Dr. McDreamy Patrick Dempsey. Okay? He goes to a marina as basically, the cleanup guy, janitor, dock worker, filling the boats full of gas and and he desperately wants to get laid. Yes, it's a teenage sex comedy, but I think it may be even the nadir of that genre, and that genre was filled to the brim. There were probably more teenage sex comedies than there were slasher films, and there were a shit ton of them in the early 1980s. Meatballs 3 Summer Job is the most pathetic excuse for a teen sex comedy from the 1980s I've ever seen in my life. And what is the plot of Meatballs 3, you might be wondering? Patrick Dempsey wants to get laid. He wants to get laid so bad. He's got nerd glasses on. He's wearing shitty clothes. There's a misfit that hits on him that he completely embarrasses himself in front of, that he rejects her advances because he's a shallow little shit. Patrick Dempsey in this movie. Who falls in front of him but a dead porn star? Yes, you heard that. A dead pornography star played by Sally Kellerman, the original Hot Lips Houlihan from the MASH movie. One more time. Meatballs 3 Summer Job is about Patrick Dempsey trying to get laid, and a porn star, a dead porn star, played by Sally Kellerman from MASH. And it is the worst. There's a subplot with Sybil Danning. Yes, Sybil Danning, I believe. She's married to the Kiss guy, right? I want to be sure I got this right. Shannon Tweed. No, not Sybil Danning, Shannon Tweed. Sorry. Glad I double-checked that. Shannon Tweed, who is married to Gene Simmons from Kiss. She's in this movie. Now, she made hundreds of erotic thrillers in the 80s and the 90s. Gorgeous woman, still gorgeous today. Yes, he's one of the luckiest guys in the world. Look, Shannon Tweed's character is the love goddess. And there's a whole subplot where all the guys, even though they all have girlfriends, they take a bet. They take bets every single fucking day as to who's going to go up there and succeed in raping the love goddess. I know people say, look, 1980s comedies, different era. No. Even for the 1980s, this is fucking disgusting. It's almost the type of thing where, like, how dare you? How dare you? No. Look, Shannon Tweed is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. No kidding. Gene Simmons is a lucky mofo. The way Shannon Tweed is used in that movie is despicable, deplorable, horrible. I felt so bad for her. Well, I shouldn't, because she accepted the role. But look, here again, Patrick Dempsey, who I really like as an actor, by the way. I actually like a lot of things that Patrick Dempsey has done. This is the worst thing he ever did. Same thing with Sally Kellerman. And who else is in it but Maury Chaykin, who was in the director's first film, Stone Cold Dead. There's an entire sequence where Patrick Dempsey puts a sausage in his pants and tries to pick up chicks, and quote unquote pick up chicks. He says he has a fake Vietnam war injury, even though it's 1987 and he's 14 years old. You know, that kind of the dopiest kind of humor, the absolute worst and dopiest kind of humor, lazy as shit that you could ever subject yourself to. And I know there are people out there that are going to say, look, they're just dumb comedies. You don't need to get all, fired up all over them. This guy, this director, George Mendeluk, has a track record for one cinematic atrocity after another. The killing of the president is the one that I'm willing to let go simply because it was competent. Everything else this guy has made, not including his television work, has been the worst I've ever seen. That's what I'm saying. When I say Neil Breen is a better filmmaker, I mean it. Okay? The only reason why I'm saying Doing Time is worse than Meatballs 3 Summer Job, the only reason is because Meatballs 3, there were a couple of good songs on the soundtrack. A couple. Just a couple. Doing Time, and that's another thing with George Mendeluk in all these movies. He largely depends upon the score and the music to carry scenes. So you get endless scenes of just like in his first film, there's a whole sequence of a woman singing a song in a prison cell lasting for 4 minutes. He has people sing who are atrocious singers lasting for as long as they can so he can pad running times. See, that's what I'm saying. 79 minutes. I don't think there was any deleted footage. Well, there may have been, but this movie feels like it was shot in a weekend. It feels like nobody took the time to go over the script and say, look, I mean, how much freedom did the actors have? Were they allowed to improvise? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's a great mystery to me. This movie is a great mystery because it just, beyond the fact it's just not funny, it makes no sense to me how this movie was constructed, how somebody on the set thought, oh, this is going to kick ass. This is going to be awesome. I can't believe that. Now, among the other cast members, there's a couple I'd like to throw out there just to get them out of the way. Stuart Gillard later directed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and Rocket Man, also 2 terrible movies. He's in this film as Senator Hodgkins. Robert Clotworthy plays an attorney. He's on the History Channel series Ancient Aliens. Pat McCormick, of course. I'm trying to remember what she's from. The Smokey and the Bandit. Big Enos from Smokey and the Bandit. That's about it. A lot of these people did not make any other movies. And like I said, the only 2 people that I like in this movie, John Vernon and Colleen Camp, I don't like their characters and I don't find them funny. So, okay, so we are coming up on the 56-minute mark. The 56-minute mark for Doing Time. And we have approximately 23 minutes left to go. That's all that's left. And like I said, I'm probably going to go back to that Muhammad Ali passage when he shows up because he's literally the only great thing in this movie. And he's in it for approximately 10 seconds. He's the only thing that is above terrible. And he's the greatest, obviously. But he's just, what is he doing here? I mean, somebody had the idea to pay him just to do a 10-minute scene, which is so quick and pointless and negligible that it was simply why? What was the point? I mean, the mild joy of seeing the greatest is not enough. It's literally not enough to actually endure 79 minutes of this. Screwballs was also 79 minutes, and that was a comic masterpiece in comparison. And anybody who's seen Screwballs will know that it, yeah, which is probably the most hideously perverted sex comedy ever made. Those know who, if you've seen Screwballs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, Mr. Skin adores that movie so much he probably jacks off to it every day. But anyway, uh, I like that actually. Excuse me. Mm. Uh, so, what else is there to say about doing time? I got 21 minutes left. Give me a moment or two. I'm trying to think of what else I can include. I'm surprised I made it this far, honestly. Well, okay. Colleen Camp. I mean, look, um, seriously beautiful woman. No reason she should be in this quote unquote alleged comedy. Uh, See, even the print is terrible. It's got cigarette butts up in the fucking corner. See, that's what I'm saying. Even the print is fucking awful. Nobody at Warner Brothers gives a shit about this movie. They probably all hate it. Um, and I don't blame them. $3 is, like I said, $3 is way, way too much. It's just way too much for a movie like this. But I got to give Warner Brothers credit. Like I said, they have this attitude. You really want to watch it? You have to pay for it. You have to pay for it because we need to make money off this crap. I mean, that's the thing. Here again, is this the worst comedy of the 1980s? Considering the fact I've never seen Leonard Part 6, I would have to say yes. The thing is, okay, what is Leonard Part 6? That's the Bill Cosby movie, which has a bunch of product placement and him, drooling over underage women. And of course, knowing his reputation now, it's probably the worst thing in the world you could ever subject yourself to. I mean, at least the Creeping Terror, you could probably watch that with a commentary or something. So, oh God, why? That's the height of this movie's comedy is sexual harassment. Yeah, I know. We'll just grab a woman's ass. People will laugh at that shit. like, fuck you, fuck you. Oh, my sides. Oh no. No, seriously, this is shit. It's total shit. Now, let me really stick it to this movie. Let me really blast this shit into outer space, okay? Now, consider the prison system in America right now. We incarcerate more people in America than any other country. We also have a significant amount of private prisons. Now, if the mere existence of private prison don't scare the fuck out of you, look, I don't know, man. I mean, that is scary as hell. Think about it. Private prisons, they put people in there to make money. They put people in there to make money. Can you imagine? Look, and try showing this to a movie to a bunch of prisoners. Do you think they would laugh? I'm being fucking honest here. Do you think a bunch of prisoners would laugh at this? you know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them just left. Be like, fuck this. Oh, Colleen Camp. I mean, look, she's so gorgeous. She doesn't belong in this. She doesn't belong in this movie. It's sad. It's sad to see somebody I really like in one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's just really, really sad. But that's the thing. Do you really think that in light of the offensive prison system that we have in this country, do you think this movie would make anybody laugh now? Look, like I said, there's one person in the country that likes this movie. I don't think he likes it for, horrible reasons. Like I said, comedy is all subjective. But practically everyone else doesn't like it or has never seen it. And I'm willing to bet you that a lot of people would not be able to finish it. This is definitely one of those movies where people would probably shut it off before you know it. A Does Dallas joke. Oh, ha, ha, oh, it's killing me, man. It's fucking killing me. Oh man, man. It's like that guy that died watching Fish Called Wanda. Yeah, I'm dying just watching this laugh-free piece of shit. Colleen Camp's beauty, unfortunately, just can't save it. It can't save it. Not to mention her talents as a comic actress, because in Clue she is actually hilarious while also being sexy as hell. But she is legitimately hilarious in Clue. How do we do this? The dagger will go further into her back. I wish I was watching Clue right now. Oh, Colleen. Oh. Wow, very yeah, ha ha ha. Cell Block 5. Like they couldn't think of anything funnier than Cell Block 5. I mean, for fucking real. you know, I've seen a lot of Three Stooges films that make fun of boxing, and those films, have, they are side splitting. And this just feels like a pathetic attempt. Okay, we are officially 1 hour and 5 minutes. 1 hour and 5 minutes into doing time. 1 hour 5. 14 and a half minutes left to go. Let me tell my story of discovering Jeff Altman. I only know Jeff Altman from one other thing that he's ever done. And I don't think I've mentioned this yet. No, I haven't. In 1990, he made a television special called Disorder in the Court, a 60th anniversary tribute to the Three Stooges. Now, it featured interviews with people like Julie Brown, Alan Thicke hosted it. They were only able to use clips from the 4 Three Stooges shorts that are in the public domain, but it was essentially a nice 2-hour documentary in tribute to the Stooges that I remember almost verbatim, and yet you can't really find it anywhere anymore. Jeff Altman had a bit in that movie. It's the worst bit in the whole documentary. It's the worst fucking bit, where he's in a room with a pretty blonde woman, with a bust and everything, and so he starts talking about different aspects of the Stooge films. He's not funny. I never laughed at anything he said. And it's like the woman keeps on bothering, like, no, this is supposed to be my part, right? I'm supposed to do something here. And he's like, no. And, he keeps on, shutting her down and everything, just being a total dick. I don't care if that was the joke or not. Just being a total dick. And it's like, and she basically bops him on the head and he falls down. And she puts up her fist and says, "A trusty friend." And when she hit him on the head and he knocked out, I laughed my ass off because I hated him so much. I was like, "Go away! You're an asshole. I don't like you." I was 10 years old, basically. And Alan Thicke at the end of the segment, it's a stupid line, but he says, "Oh, Jeff, good buddy. I'm sorry about that. We cover medical. It's all right." Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. And Alan Thicke, look, I hated Growing Pains. It was probably one of the worst sitcoms of the 1980s as far as I'm concerned. Next to Full House, that's another one I couldn't stand. There's certain aspects of that decade is just, going back to them would be just an embarrassing, experiment. And this is definitely one of those examples where this is not a movie where there's any nostalgia present. There's virtually no fans of this movie aside from that one person that I talked about. But here I think we're about to have the Muhammad Ali cameo. We are about to have the Muhammad Ali cameo in just a few seconds here, I believe. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff. You're just not funny. No offense to you or anybody that likes you, but I don't think you're funny. I will never think you are funny. And Richard Mulligan humping his fucking pillow. Oh, is that so funny? No. I don't see why anybody would laugh at that. I just don't see why. But none of these characters. I mean, that's the thing. The Police Academy characters had more development and more attention being paid to them than any character in this movie. Oh, ha 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 ha. Oh yeah, blow him some kisses. Yeah, make him. Fuck you. Okay, intense music swelling up here. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all time. Even though he's in one of the worst movies ever made, nothing can tear down this guy's reputation. Of all kinds, I said of all kinds. Oh. Muhammad Ali. I'm not even a boxing fan, but look, look, one of the coolest cats, whatever. I don't think I need to say anything more. I mean, just to see him is a privilege. It's just too bad it has to be near the end of this horrible movie. That's it. 10 seconds. Literally 10 seconds of Muhammad Ali. That's all this movie has. Watch the clip on YouTube if you really want to. Don't waste $3 just to see Muhammad Ali in this movie. It's just not worth it. It is not worth it at all. So yeah, there's 3 people I'm willing to let go. There's 3 people I'm willing to let go in this movie. Colleen Camp, John Vernon, and Muhammad Ali. Everybody else is guilty as hell. Everybody is guilty of being just offensively unfunny. And just, a script that I don't think ever had a chance in the first place. I mean, here again, it was written by, story by, there's 5 people. 5 people came up with the story. That is probably the funniest thing, period, about this movie. That's the only thing I can laugh my ass off. How the fuck did 5 people come up for this movie which has no story? It's unbelievable. But these are the people that are all charged with every cinematic crime you could imagine. And yes, I used to write for DVD Verdict, so I think it's more than appropriate. Fernell Silver, Ron Zwang, George Mendeluk, the director, Dee Caruso, and Peter Wilson, you are all fucking guilty of writing one of the most excruciating, one of the most funny, one of the most, offensively inane movies ever fucking made. Here again, speaking of somebody who's never seen Leonard Part 6, this is the absolute worst movie I've seen in the entire decade of the 1980s. And I've seen a shit ton of 80s films. So that's my sum up of Doing Time as Jeff Altman's opponent finally goes down for the count. We are at the 1 hour. We're coming up on the 1 hour, 13-minute mark. Colleen Camp in a little Bo Peep costume. Bless her heart. It's not enough. This is no. Robert Mulligan in a bunny suit and bunny suit and Colleen Camp, while gorgeous as hell, used so inappropriately and so annoyingly. This is a travesty. You know, no. I mean, I challenge anybody. To find a movie that's worse than this, aside from Leonard Part 6. And I'm talking about the 1980s. I challenge anybody to think of a movie that's worse than this. No. I'd rather watch those old Paddington Bear cartoons. I'd rather watch all those disturbing schoolgirl report films from the 1970s. I would rather watch Cats every day of the fucking week. This is the fucking worst. And I've been watching movies since I was 10 years old. This is the nadir of movie comedy, as far as I'm concerned. The absolute nadir. And that's not something to celebrate. That is not something to. I mean, look, if you want to challenge me, hey, throw a title at me. I challenge anybody in the chat. Throw me a title that may in fact be worse than this. I'd rather even watch Wired, the atrocious John Belushi biopic from 1989. I would rather watch that. The Mongo Comedy Hour. Oh, fuck me. Oh, it just won't fucking end. There's only 3 minutes left. So, I mean, look, the torture is very nearly over. Thank you for your sacrifice tonight, Stone. Look, I had to do it. And like I said, I refuse to believe Alan Ladd Jr. said yes to this. I refuse to believe in my heart that Alan Ladd Jr. said yes to this. Like I said, my theory is that if you look at the VHS tape, it says copyright 1984 Ladd Company. But I think that's only because this was basically filmed about the same time as Police Academy 2. And like I said, they came out within 2 months of each other. Police Academy 2 didn't even have the Ladd Company logo. And mercifully, the movie has finally reached its end credits. Mercifully, we have reached the end of the 70-minute runtime that is Doing Time. I want to thank everybody out there for joining me. If you paid to watch this, I truly am sorry. Look, give me a recommendation for a movie to do a commentary for. I will do it for you because I feel bad that people had to waste $3 to do this shit show. This yeah. This movie is all fucked up. Mm-hmm. All fucked up. Mm-hmm. Just unbelievably bad. But maybe not as bad as Meatballs. No, Meatballs 3 is better. Just for a couple of songs. I mean, here again, they were just so desperate. They put every ounce of footage they could. They just said, well, we'll start the credits before the 3-minute mark. And to be fair to the Lad Company, this was a co-production between them and some outfit called Film Corps. And I would imagine that they are responsible for bringing this idea, quote unquote, whatever idea, to Lad Company and saying, we want to do this. Police Academy just made a shit ton of money. Yeah, let's do it. It will be like a police academy in a prison. No, it is not Police Academy in a fucking prison. It is not. Stir Crazy, Life. Those are genuinely funny prison comedies. This is the worst of the fucking worst. Casual tops for the party scene provided by Pleasure. Corner cushions for boxing ring provided by Everlast Sporting Goods. Cast of characters: Muhammad Ali himself. Yeah, Jeff Altman. Bleh. Stuart Gillard as Senator Hodgkins. Lex Landy, Pat McCormick. I shouldn't even say their names anymore, but Ron Palillo as Papillion or whatever. John Riley. That better not be John C. Riley. That better not be who I think it is. I need to double check that before the movie is over. Please do not tell me that John C. Riley is in this movie. I mean, it's not like it's not like I recognized him. He was not in this movie. That is not the same. That is not John C. Riley. A Lad Company release through Warner Brothers. But here again, it opens up with Film Corps. So whoever Film Corps is responsible for this. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Cliff, Jay, and Luong Tran. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Bless all your hearts. I'm sorry that if you watched it with me, I'm really sorry, but one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But anyway, tomorrow night, Saturday night, we are going to be doing a double audio commentary, 50th anniversary for Superfly and Shaft's Big Score. Sunday night, we are going to be doing a 3-hour audio commentary for The Right Stuff, one of the best Lad Company movies, one of the absolute best. And next week, on Wednesday, August 31st, we will be doing a commentary on the incendiary documentary Unlawful Killing about the murder of Princess Diana. You don't want to miss any of them. Thank you so much for joining me. You all have a wonderful evening, and thank you. And